Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2023, and this video is dedicated to absentee fathers, those fathers who were never in their sons' lives. Dear absentee fathers, in trying to be everything that you weren't, we never got a chance to be who we actually are. A lot of sons who did not have a father in their home, they became everything that their fathers weren't. They became surrogate husbands to their mothers. And in many respects, this led to an unhealthy dynamic where the son and the mother share this symbiotic, enmeshed relationship. And I don't know if that is healthy. I think a healthy love and respect for your mother is essential. But I also think that having this enmeshed, symbiotic relationship can be unhealthy. I think in some cases, many mothers expect their sons to be the men that their husbands were not, and be the men that their partners were not. And so what ends up happening is that they instill this guilt within the son, this sense of over responsibility, where the son is held accountable for all the mistakes that the father made. And so when fathers leave the home, I always say that they murder their sons. Fathers, when you leave the home, just know that you murder your sons. You leave them in the hands of women who are angry, who are hurt, and rightfully so. I do not want women to say that I am minimizing their feelings, because you have the right to be angry. You did not sign on to raise these children alone. You didn't sign on for that. You need partnership. You need help, support, assistance. And so what ends up happening is this lopsided household where the father has left. The mother is left to raise the kids. She herself is young. She herself does not know how to raise a child. She has no experience with this, and yet she is thrust into this role. And it's unfair. It's unfair. And absentee fathers, you need to know that. You leave your sons in the hands of angry women who are still looking for their Prince Charming and unwittingly make their sons their Prince Charming. The sons never get an opportunity to express their true identity because they're so busy trying to be everything to everybody. They're so busy trying to be all things to all people. And where do they learn this? They learn this first in the home. They had to be the golden boys, the boys to make up for their fathers not being around. They had to be the answer to his absence. Is that fair? No, that's not fair to the young man. The young boy grows up feeling this over responsibility, feeling this sense of guilt and shame that gnaws at his psyche, gnaws at his emotions. And for some men, they resent their mothers, and they constantly search for their fathers. I've talked to a lot of gay men. And many of them care for their mothers genuinely, but there's this quiet, almost covert resentment that they have. Not so much for their mothers, but also, sometimes for their moms, but I would say also for the role that they were thrust into. They didn't ask for that. They didn't ask to be thrust into this role of surrogate husband, caregiver. They didn't ask for that. So they're a bit resentful about that, but at the same time, they're curious about men. They want to know what's going on with men. Who are men? They want to know if they're peeing right. Do I pee standing up? Do I pee sitting down? They see their mothers sometimes peeing sitting down. Sometimes the mothers, in some households, they leave the bathroom door open while they're peeing. And they see the moms sitting down. But they don't ever really have that representation, They don't ever really have that representation of a father figure in their house. And so these boys are lost. They have lost, misplaced male identities. And I see it all the time. And it's just so painful, I know me personally, growing up without a father was hard. It was hard. I was looking for that connection, that male connection. I was looking for that representation. I was looking to see my father, looking to see myself in my father. And there are so many young men out here that are looking for their father in so many dark and dangerous places, being exploited, used, played, tricked, deceived, diseased, all because they're out here looking for daddy. And it's infuriating because you see so many good, talented young men, and you know that they could be so much more if given the right training, the right guidance, the right role model, the right support system. And you see them, especially with gay men, they're just circling the drain, being sucked into lives that they don't even want. There's an epidemic out here of crystal meth, and I see so many young gay men being just swallowed whole. And for some of them, they lack the guidance. They lack that male guidance. I was talking to a young man today, and he was saying how he doesn't feel like his life is his own. He's depressed because he does not feel like his life is his own. He's living everybody else's wants and desires except what he wants. And why? Because he's been guilted and shamed into that role of being everybody else's fantasy except his reality. And I told him, I was like, you know something? You keep on setting yourself on fire, trying to keep other people warm. When are you going to come out from the cold? When are you going to start keeping yourself warm and stop setting yourself on fire for everybody else? But the thing about it is, fatherless boys have been taught how to set themselves on fire. They've been taught how to deny their own masculinity for the sake of their mother's reality, or their mother's fantasy even. The mother's fantasy of what a real man is. She wrote the script. When the father leaves, the mother is left to write the script on what a real man is. And oftentimes that script can be jaded. That script can be inaccurate. That script can be based on her own personal fantasies of what she would like a man to be in her life, but that's not based on the reality of this young man. This young man is out here struggling, trying to find his own identity. What makes him come alive? What makes him joyful? What makes him tick? But once again, he becomes the creation of his mother's fantasies and her wishes and her desires. And that may not necessarily be who he actually is, but he's thrust into that role. And that's why I get so pissed off with fathers who leave the home. You leave not only your son in a precarious state, you leave that boy, that young man, in a state of confusion. He's going to always be searching for you everywhere, in every dark corner. He's going to always be searching for his father. You also leave the mothers. You leave them to try to navigate the confusion of why. Why is she thrust into this role? Why didn't things work out? And oftentimes her own resentment, can get the better of her. She gets angry. She takes it out on the child. And everybody suffers. I don't know how many times I've seen mothers look at their sons and be like, you just like your daddy. You just like your daddy. They just be looking at their sons like they're vile. They're the most vile, disgusting creatures. And that's cruel. I knew a mother that used to curse just violently at her son. It was malicious. And the son grew up, and he grew up to resent women. He grew up to constantly search for his father and try to fit in with men, doing anything. He would do anything to fit in with these men. You know? If it meant disrespecting women, he would disrespect women. If it meant stealing or doing some illegal activity, he would just go along with the crowd because he was so busy trying to find that male connection. That male connection that should have been given in his home with his father. Now he has to go out here searching the streets for it. And the thing about searching in the streets is sometimes you will not always get the best, the most healthy role models. Oh, they'll teach you something. They'll teach you how to go to jail. They'll teach you how to steal. They'll teach you how to abuse and mistreat women. Oh, you'll get a lesson, all right. But it will not be a healthy lesson. It will not be a healthful lesson. It will not be a lesson that promotes well-being. It will be a lesson that only undermines and shortens the young man's life. And so, fathers out there, if you are not in your child's life, please make an active attempt. Make an earnest effort to be in their life because they need you, especially if you are a father raising or not raising a male child. You got to make an effort. You got to make an effort to be in their life because if you are not in their life, you just set them up to die. That's it. You set them up to die. You might as well just take a knife and just plunge it into them because your absence does even worse. And if you don't get along with the mother, look, I don't know everybody's story out there, but if you don't get along with the mom, my thing is this: don't ever stop fighting for your kids. Don't ever stop trying to be in their life. You make that earnest effort because there comes a point where the kid is going to have to make a decision. Even if the child is not with their father, even if the child is being used as a bartering chip, dangled over the father's head, there comes a point where the child's going to get wind of that. They're going to see that, They're also going to find out about your efforts. If you make efforts, they're going to pick up, they're going to catch on. If you don't make efforts, that child's going to grow up feeling thrown away, worthless, valueless. And they're going to be susceptible to every corrupt influence out in the world. So you are their first line of defense. You are their first relationship also. Our first relationships really are with our caretakers. And how we interact with them really sets the tone for every other relationship in our lives. And so you want to make sure that you give your children a chance. You want to make sure that they are on the right footing, And modeling healthy relational dynamics is important, So, once again, fathers, if you are not in your children's lives, please make an effort to be in their life. Please, because they need you. They need you more than you would ever know. And although they may seem ungrateful, They may seem ungrateful. They may not show you the gratitude that you think they should be showing you, but below that surface, they're going to be grateful. When they start to understand and grow up a little bit more and get some more emotional maturity and more experiences, trust and believe, they're going to be grateful that you were in their lives. And one day you will get that phone call, you will get that letter, you will get that text where they express that gratitude because they know it was not easy. So I hope this video was helpful. Definitely share, comment. I definitely want your feedback. I would love some feedback from fathers who are not in their children's lives. If they can definitely make an effort, maybe just document some of the reasons why they have not taken an active role. And maybe there's a dialogue that can happen, because I think that oftentimes we don't have this conversation. And I see too many young men and boys getting lost because we're unwilling to have this conversation. So I hope this was beneficial. This is Lewis Speaks 2023, wishing everybody a healthy and happy new year. Peace, y'all.